Romantic comedy review. Oh, literally, romantic comedy. That's the name of the movie. Now, this movie does not fit the parameters of being a 90s, 2000s romantic comedy because of two reasons. Number one, this movie is from 1983. But I've made allowances for 80s movies before, so we're going to make an allowance for this one as well, especially given that this might be the first time romantic comedy really got popularized as like a trope or a meme or a type of genre, what have you. Number two, this isn't a romantic comedy. They lied. They lied to you right there on the cover. And who would perpetrate this deceit? We have our female protagonist, the delightful Mary Steenburgen, who you probably most recently recognize, given the season, as the mom character in Elf. We also get a lot of great scenes with the amazing Frances Sternhagen, who I recognize best as Bunny McDougal from Sex and the City, playing the literary agent, the final guilty party in this crime perpetrated against us, Dudley Moore, whose name must certainly be an indication of God's sense of humor, because homeboy is 5'3". And listen, I'm gonna start off really quick with this. And I love me a short king. But when somebody presents a character and a story and participates in an ending so vile and hope-crushing that you can tell his lack of verticality matches that of the lack of his acting range, I think it's fair play. If only so I can point out this. Homeboy rolls around in lifted sneakers in 1983. This is not 2025 when I can jump online and get 9,000 lifted sneakers from such illustrious dropship brands as Kramaloo and Hagurksik. Probably just cursed in Swahili. We might need to blurt that out. No, when you see something like this, a size 6 young adult ked with that much lift in it, that's a bespoke item. That is money, serious money. And that in combination with a lot of very, shall I say, charitable blocking that happens in this movie to sort of try to play it up. This man is a demon and a gremlin. So knowing that this lived in his mind rent-free makes it fair play. Which is funny, because of the attributes I dislike the most about this character, height doesn't even crack the top 10. But we'll get to that. Here's the story. Dudley Moore plays a playwright named Jason. However, every Jason I've met has been a saint. You don't get to be called Jason, you are stuck as Dudley. Dudley is getting married. On the same day, his agent comes over and witnesses a very fraught conversation that he has with the dissolution of his writing partner, who he's very pissed off about because this writing partner had the audacity to leave him. And she says, well, don't worry, I've got you another person. They've got good work. Their name is PJ Craddock, and you like some of their stuff, so they should be fine for you. And this guy can't even be bothered. It's his literal wedding day, by the way, and he's waddling around, completely not dressed for it, complaining about his shoulder hurting and asking where his masseuse is. I'm all for a bit of pamper, but time and place, man. Well, there comes a knock on the door, and who arrives but PJ Craddock. The P stands for Phoebe. It's a woman, which in itself could lead to one of those like, oh, misunderstanding meet cutes. Nothing cute about this. This takes a turbo turn directly into Turdsville. Homeboy looks at her and decides, you must be the masseuse. Which is bad enough because he's standing there shirtless. What's even worse is he looks this woman dead in the eyes and he proceeds to take off his pants and his boxers. Homeboy is hanging down. What kind of massage is this man expecting on his wedding day where he felt the need to remove his billowy Hanes boxers? Now, Phoebe, for her part, she is talking to who she believes is one of her heroes of the pen, right? He's written all these great screenplays that she loves, and she even says, oh my God, I've read all of your plays, and the work of you and your previous partner have really made my day in a lot of really bad situations. And I just really love your work. And I'm so sorry.
I could ask you a question.
Of course.
Are you naked?
Either that or I'm standing in a severe draft.
And this is the first time that you see like a moment of like hesitation cross this man's face. This man was imperiously standing there, just letting stuff dangle in the wind. And she graciously gives him an out and says, oh, well, see, I can't tell because I can't really see without my glasses. So you're just a big blur to me. Anyway, I just wanted to tell you what a treat it is to like work with you, you know, in writing. And that's when he says, oh, you're not a masseuse? And she goes, no, I'm not. And here's the piss sis. And I don't know if this is just like they forgot when they were filming or what, but This woman, yeah, she never wears glasses. Throughout the entirety of this film, she never wears glasses. She saw everything. That's probably the one laugh this entire movie got out of me, but it was, again, a very uncomfortable laugh because, those situations aren't fun. Now, right before his wedding, he decides he'll handle his business, so he brings her in, and he basically tells her that his personality is that of a Facebook meme, specifically the, if you cannot handle me at my worst, you don't deserve me at my best. He's a butthead, and he's a total butthead to everybody, and that's just something she's gonna have to deal with. And bless her naivete, still blinded by the fact that she adores this man and thinks the world of his writing. She does what a lot of people do. She separates the art from the artist and says, I can deal with your poor behavior. Absolutely. Decision that both she and we will come to regret as the movie progresses. He then toddles off and goes and gets married. Trust me, this man lives up to his word. I counted throughout the rest of the running time of this movie, he insults Phoebe 21 separate times. It stood out so much that I actually counted. Now, some of these are light insults, like
York Times delivery truck, which after their review seems somewhat redundant.
Jesus, who dresses you? Quasimodo?
that could be taken as kind of a joke. Then some of them are actually pretty rancid.
I do love you, Phoebe.
Do you mind telling me why he was doing that?
Because he finds me attractive.
Oh, come on, Phoebe. You expect me to buy that? You must have done something to bring it on.
But a lot of his insults to her seem to center around the fact that her general demeanor is that of a very shy, kind, sweet, sympathetic girl, a good friend that goes to great lengths to make other people feel comfortable, very meek. The other is he doesn't like the way that she dresses, which does fit with his character because he's seen as something of a clothes horse, right?
You don't really want to work, do you?
Why do you say that?
Because you never like to sit down and crease yourself before you go to your tailor.
But it comes across as really, really classist, right? Which is gross because while he lives in this nicely appointed man's, she's a starving writer coming up. She lives in an apartment and she's wearing the best that she can. And what she wears is cute. It is professional. It's not office siren. It's not showing holes. It's not dirty. She shows up nicely dressed. It's just he doesn't like any of her style. Put a pin in this particular read on her. It's going to come back later in the worst way. This movie moves really fast. It's 10 years in an hour and 41 minutes. They end up working together for a few years. First show's a flop. She's real sad. And that's when the writers really push us to understand that she not only really admires him, but she seems to have a crush on him. Which is troubling because in a later admission, she tells somebody else that she sees him like a father.
I come back out.
So? He's not your father.
No. Well, he is in a way.
You mean professional?
In every way.
You know, we don't have time for all those issues. We're gonna leave it as she has feelings for him. Some of which obviously come from the fact that he has written the stories that she loves that lifted her spirits in dire straits. Well, since she's seen him completely naked, there might be some physical attraction there. I don't know. I'm not gonna yuck anyone's yum. But for his part, Dudley Moore is just a dick the entire movie. He doesn't seem to like anybody. He almost never shares any screen time with his own kids. He ends up having kids, by the way, 2 of them. And when asked about his marriage to his wife, he literally says, I saw it as an honorable man just sort of lives with his mistake. Listen, whoever you are out there, if you're ever talking to somebody and you have feelings for them and they literally reference their marriage or relationship or partnership as a mistake that they are just nobly living with, run far away. That should be the poison that kills any feelings you have for that person. That is the reddest of red flags you could imagine. What a terrible asshole. I swear, the whole premise was having this man and this woman have this amazing chemistry and love for each other, and the will they, won't they, and the circumstances never align, and it's always the right place and the wrong time. But they went out of their way to make this guy the most insufferable, arrogant D-bag that I have ever seen. Now, maybe one of the reasons Dudley's wife doesn't hate Phoebe having a crush on him, that she sees Phoebe out there trying to move on, because Phoebe is trying to move on, right? She understands that this man is married. She understands that it's not going to happen in so many words. They had a very close brush, but it never went anywhere, and that's the end of it. So she's trying to have these relationships along the way. The problem, of course, is Dudley, because every time some man sends her flowers, he's got something crappy to say about the man who sent her flowers, or the quality of flowers.
Who sent you the flowers?
Lenny.
Lenny? Is that the screenwriter with the gold chains and the wig that almost fools you?
Something that his own wife points out and says, you know what, can you just let her go? For the love of God, every time she tries to find a partner or a relationship, you insert yourself and just shit upon it until she abandons it because she cares so much about your opinion.
I never interfere with Phoebe's personal life.
Oh, come on, Jason. And that nice older man from Florida was taking her out, and you said, in 5 years, he'll be walking around with his fly zipper not quite zipped up. That killed that romance.
It's just a passing observation.
No, you always seem to come up with the perfect phrase to effectively eliminate anyone who's even slightly interested in her.
And you can see in this little gnome's face that he's both mock outraged that she would ever suggest such a thing, but he's also secretly smirking because this means he's superior. He is the puppet master over Phoebe's little heart, and that's just how he likes it. So they go on to have some more successful shows. The kids are growing up. His wife has kind of mentioned to him a couple of times that she sees that there are problems in the relationship because she loved him and he loved him and nobody really loved her, so it kind of sucks for her. She ends up going to be a councilwoman. Love that. And Phoebe, for her part, becomes really good friends with the wife as well, which is kind of awkward given the big old crush she's nursing, but I guess they're just like, they're dealing with it the best they can. Who knows? Well, one night, both Phoebe and Dudley Moore are out of town in the most romantic of places possible.
Got to go long while straight back home. I could've walked back to Chicago.
And this is like their fifth play together, and it bombs terribly. They get super drunk. Phoebe leaves the guy in his room and says goodnight. He hunches over on his couch like a little gremlin for a hot minute, and then he pops back up, pushes his way into her room, tells her,
I crave affection.
and then grabs her by the waist while she says, I don't think we should, and kisses her. Now, at that moment, they're both a little drunk, their inhibitions are gone, so she reciprocates, they fall onto the bed, he positions himself directly on top of her, and passes out. The guy's out cold. Thus sparing us from having to see this man naked, thank God. The next morning, she comes down to breakfast, and he says, well, I guess we need to talk about it, and she goes, and you can see the relief in her face because for the first time in years, they're actually going to finally speak to this attraction that's been between them, this tension, this push-pull. And that's when this little coward says, anyway, I think we should just cut and run on this play. It's obviously not going to play well in Chicago. It's not going to play well in New York. I think we should just cut our losses and move on. And while he is talking about the play, you understand as the sadness dawns on Phoebe's face that he's talking about both that and them, which he later on doubles down and says, our second act just doesn't work. Now, sensing this, Phoebe actually starts a relationship with a guy named Leo. We love Leo. We stand Leo in this house. Justice for Leo. Leo asks her to marry him because he's so besotted with her, because Phoebe's a great person. Have you been listening? I haven't had a single negative thing to say about her, except she's kind of a pushover and has terrible taste in heroes. And when he pops the question, Dudley manages to find out about it. And you best believe that he's got nothing good to say about Phoebe finding love. From tearing him down to tearing down the way she dresses as well.
How do you know?
He asked me.
When?
Just now?
While you were wearing that hat?
You just know that this man refers to himself as a charming sort of fellow who just loves banter. Except in his mind, banter is just saying the meanest shit possible in one direction to somebody else and never being able to take any of it back himself. How do I know? I've dated this guy. That's another story for another day. They have a little bit of a blow up about it, but they still have work to do. So they return to do work for exactly 2 minutes of the movie, at which point Dudley, still in a mood, storms off. He then blows off lunch with his agent, so both his agent and Phoebe show up at his house because it's very unlike him not to show up for his appointments. And that's when they find out that he took one of the actresses from their play home and did the Pamchenko with her. To which Phoebe is horrified, and rightfully so. She even points out to this man, not only am I friends with your wife, but what the hell is this? You're using your position of authority. You're the screenwriter. You're misusing your position of authority over an actress who absolutely has to curry your favor in order to get a good part, an expanded part, and the best parts. Dudley goes back and forth and insulting Phoebe again until he finally admits that he was lashing out because he was pissed at her for Leo. Which makes as much sense as it sounds like, which is to say, none at all. And Phoebe says, okay, that's it. I'm done. I can't do this anymore. He tears her down for every single thing, reducing her good-natured, empathetic, and kind nature as you're not talented enough to be that humble. Just absolute nightmare person. Old Duddums finally decides that maybe he's gone too far this time. So he bravely chases Phoebe down. He does what every self-centered butthead thinks is the best gift possible to give to somebody. Knowledge about themselves. Oh my God, he's gonna do a lore dump. And he does. He talks about the fact that his teeth are capped, he had a nose job, and a little more worryingly, he also lied about his entire educational background, telling people that he went to Oxford, but he didn't even finish high school. Essentially, he pulls back the curtain on his justification and motivation as to why he's been an unrepentant shitbird this entire movie. Are you guys ready? He was poor. No, that's it. That's literally it. He grew up poor. And he got in trouble with the law a couple times for stealing food because he was poor. I try really hard when I watch these not to watch them in a 2025 mindset, but I was born in the 80s when this movie was released, and a lot of families weren't exactly well off, which a lot of us didn't even know until later on when you'd happen to drop a reference, look around the lunch table and realize, oh, no one else here knows what a bakery outlet is, and they don't go to the discount bread store. I didn't know there was anything weird about day-old bread. Tasted good to me. But it's a time-tested trope that plays well in romantic comedies. It garners the sympathy, and of course, Phoebe being a very sympathetic person already, she of course relents, goes back to his house, and they begin to work again, which lasts for about 20 seconds until he does some other dickhead thing, and then they're fighting again. And this is the real blowout. This is the big one. This is the one where Phoebe finally, after over half of this movie, slaps back. And while she doesn't meet him in quantity, she more than makes up for it in quality.
When he sees those substandard flannel nightgowns, he'll run to the nearest fire escape.
I have only one reply to that, Jason. Even an egg takes 3 minutes.
What?
You were inadequate in Chicago.
And it stops the little troll dead in his tracks. Good, maybe he'll return to spinning straw into gold now. There's a time skip again, a couple of years. Phoebe, a great writer, has gone on to write a book. She's married Leo, they've lived in Paris, she is living the life. And she comes back to New York to promote her book, but also because she's heard that Dudley isn't doing so well, and he's not. See, Dudley's wife found out that he shtooped the actress, so Dudley's wife vamoosky'd and took the kids. Note also that Dudley never mentions the kids ever again in the entire movie, so yet another reason to love this guy. He's a total father of the year. He is now living in his mansion that's covered in trash, and he hasn't written anything since Phoebe left. Well, Phoebe shows up with an olive branch / a solution. They worked really well together as writers. She has this book she would like to adapt for the stage, and homeboy needs a job. This is all an extremely kind and empathetic thing for a former partner to do, especially considering how vile this man has treated her for years, right? So, of course, he accepts this with the class, grace, and panache that you would expect. Zilch, not at all. He stands up over her at the restaurant, clearly one of the few times that he gets to tower over anybody. Little Lilliputian tears her down. Now, you guys remember what his primary, sharpest insults were to her before? Yeah, it's the fact that she's meek and sweet, and it's the fact that she dresses like a garage sale threw up on her. Right? Well, now witness the gaslighting, because now he holds up his own old insults, except now they're reframed. She used to be this kind, warm, compassionate, sweetheart girl that just didn't put on airs and didn't think she was better than anybody. And the way that she dressed, she was his manic pixie dream girl, Quirk Chungus.
Of course, I was remembering a warm, vulnerable, compassionate, unique girl who used to blush. Not the woman you've become. Do you know what you've become? You've become crisp. One of those confident, crisp, fashion plate women who think they know the secret of the world.
Who is the image-obsessed clothes horse in this movie again? Now, after he finishes throwing his little tantrum and shaking his tiny fists and screaming his little screams, God does us a solid and gives him a heart attack. Plop, there he goes. Thank God. And scene. End of movie, roll credits. I wish. No. I checked the runtime at this point and was dismayed to find that there would be more. Of course, the little guy lives. And not only that, but when he starts convalescing, he's convalescing with Phoebe and now Leo taking care of him. And he is being the weirdest house guest shitbird I have ever seen in my life. I was raised with manners, right? When you come to somebody else's house, when you're having somebody come over to your house, you clean. The guest is not expected to do any labor. You're not going to put them to work peeling potatoes. They're a guest. Likewise, when you are a guest, you respect your host's home. You don't tear apart their decor. You don't demand things of them, because if you have to demand things, they should have already had those out for you, right? They should have already made sure that those were provided for you. That's manners. I don't know if that's still a thing today, but that's certainly how I was raised. This imperious little shit is over here smirking and telling Leo to draw him a bath.
Oh, Leo, would you mind drawing a bath for me?
I have to wash the car and do the silver first.
It's not a lot of labor. Given his size, they're probably just going to fill up the kitchen sink anyway. But, like, it's the principle, right? So in his own house, Leo walks in on this clown literally putting the moves on his wife. And Leo has that rare gift of dignity where he says, you know what? If she can be had, then have her. I'm out. He tells Phoebe arrivederci and he leaves, communicating very clearly that this is not okay, that he has feelings for Phoebe and probably always will, but he cannot live like this. So off he scoots. With all the charm and panache that we've come to expect of Dudley, he gives her exactly 17 seconds of airtime to grieve before he comes up behind her in the kitchen, grabs her, and forces his horrible little frog tongue down her throat. Now, you might think this is the end of the movie. I was again checking the time, and I was once again disappointed to find there was more runtime left. Turns out that egg comment wasn't just a one-fer. Dudley's actually terrible in bed, too. All of that for nothing. Phoebe tries to be nice about it, and Dudley basically says, nah, it wasn't good. Isn't it funny that it all fizzled out like that? Anyways, I guess we should just be friends. And Phoebe shrugs and leaves. That's right, this man just caused the end of her marriage. This man used this woman's crush and love and admiration for him for years to get ahead, all the while never giving her her flowers. In fact, he often came for her ability to do the job that she was partnered with him to do. And yet, what do we keep seeing happening in this movie? In the very beginning, his first writing partner has left him, and he is unable to move on until he takes on another partner. And yeah, there were a couple of duds in the mix, but the second that Phoebe leaves him, she writes a bestseller, and he doesn't work at all for 2 years. I'm just saying, if anybody here should be suspicious of somebody's ability or inability to write good stories, I think that we should be looking a little, lower. So they return to the playhouse. They're trying to work through the play. The story that Phoebe has written, that they are adapting for the stage, has the same kind of wistful ending, which is to say, the same ending as Dudley Moore's and Phoebe's, where they don't really end up together, where it doesn't really make sense. She shows up and says, the ending doesn't work the way it does. He smiles at her, goes and lays on the couch and pops up his little lifted sneakers.
Oh, and I am about to raise your
So here we are in the final act of the movie. We have watched an entire arc. We have watched the young, blushing ingenue become a world-wise, savvy, successful novelist and screenwriter. We have watched the evil villain of the movie, aka the male love protagonist, be revealed for who he is. A schmuck who lied about everything to lift himself up and then allowed his insecurity to tear everyone else down around him for years, abandoning his wife and his kids in the process. We are leaving it on a bittersweet twist where good wins and evil loses. Again, imagine my dismay that there was more runtime left in this movie. No, they're not going to, and they do. That's right, they do. This ends on an, oh well, third time's the charm? Now, I was never a theater kid, but I knew a lot of them. The fact that they are that willing to get down on that couch, I'm just saying, epidemics have been started by less. I always like to wrap these up with either a recommendation to watch it if it was worth watching it, or a lesson, or tying it back into some overarching theme that is relevant to the day, right? Well, if you paid attention the last however many minutes, this is not a glowing recommendation for this film, unless you need to write some Keebler elf hate fic and you just need some inspiration, right? And some might even ask me, why did I bother reviewing this thing at all? If my entire intention of reviewing 90s and 2000s rom-coms was in some part to bring awareness of them back into the modern day so that other people can enjoy the same funny, charming, weird, quirky, adorable movies that I grew up on, why would I give them one that might actually turn them away from that genre? But for that I have this. The first is always the worst. Think about it, the Wright brothers playing at Kitty Hawk, the first open heart surgery that was done without medical gloves or washed hands. Look around the world now, and every successful thing we have came from very humble beginnings. And those humble beginnings may have been in a garage or in a daydream. Is romantic comedy a romance? Well, we're certainly seeing some PG-13 nudity and some sex scenes. But thanks to Mary Steenburgen, we also see somebody in love, even if it is, for the most part, very one way. Is it a comedy? Again, the only laughter that they got out of me was uncomfortable laughter during the very beginning confused for a masseuse routine. So, not a rom-com itself, but there is importance in the coining of the phrase. The bones are there, right? You still have the same story arc beat for beat. Boy meets girl, boy and girl get along really well together, big conflict, will they, won't they, recovery and closure of the character development arcs, and then they end up together in the very end, and the music swells and the credits roll. Without movies like romantic comedy, maybe other romantic comedies would never have come along today. And that really would be a shame because a lot of these movies are great. But perhaps the best note that I can leave you on is this. As in this movie, as an elf, Mary Steenburgen appears to have made a career being the sweet, kind wife to pretty terrible men. Which is sad, but be assured she's winning in real life. She's been married to Ted Danson since the 90s. And I cannot think of a more fitting 90s reward than that.